Hello, my name is HAPruitt, and I want to continue telling you about how Anelthalien became a book, how it was published. So, when you purchase a package from Elm Hill to publish your book, you receive certain services. And the package I purchased, two of the services were you get 3 rounds to do the cover design, the whole cover design, and you get 3 rounds to do the inside editing, all the formatting, everything within the inside of your book. So when I was doing the cover design, the first round, the second round, and then the third round came. And each time you got to fill out a little form that told them what to change. And on the last form that I got to fill out, I specified a few different things. I think the front was good by then, but the spine and the back, I still wanted certain things done too. And that third round, that last chance I had to make it like it needed to be, I filled out the form, I sent it to them, and they sent me the picture back, and it didn't reflect what I had asked them to do, and I really don't know what happened. It was a break in communication, because I thought I was very specific and detailed about what I wanted done, but like it wasn't right. And I cried and I cried and I cried because there was no way to fix it. That was the last chance I had gotten. They had sent me their last product, and that's what it was going to be. And I cried and I cried, and it was horrible and it was awful, and I was really, really, really devastated because I had messed up. I had miscommunicated. I felt like I didn't know how to communicate with anybody. I felt like just my book was going to look wrong, and it was every time I saw it, it was going to be wrong, and it was just horrible and awful. And like I said, I was truly devastated. Like Scott was napping, and I woke him up, and he was like, okay. It wasn't a big deal, but to me, it was a huge deal, and it mattered so much. And so I was just so upset. And Scott told me, why don't you just email him? Why don't you just email him and ask him to fix it? And I didn't think it would work. But I emailed them, and I explained what I meant in the little form that I had filled out that I guess communication had broken in. And I explained what I actually meant instead of what it seemed like I meant. And all that to say, God made it to where they were like, oh, okay, we'll fix it. And I was really surprised because you were supposed to pay more money if you had another revision cycle. But they were like, okay, you already told us to do this, so we'll go back to the form and do it. And that was just amazing, and it was so wonderful. And all that devastation and all that terribleness, and then they fixed it. And it was fine. It was absolutely fine. So then, much later, much further on in the process, the inside of my book came. And I read through every single one of these little tiny words so many times, and I filled out the form, and there were a lot of mistakes each time. Not like horrible, awful mistakes, but commas and little things that nobody else would notice, but God let me notice, and so it bothered me to no end. And so I read through over and over and over. On the computer, they send it to you, read through it, you fill out the little form with all the things, you say, change this to this. And that went well, and then the third cycle came, my last cycle, again, and I was so excited to be done with it, because reading through 336 pages in as fast as you possibly can, as closely and as detailed-oriented as you possibly can, just makes your brain crazy, and you don't really want to do it, and you're glad to be done. But I was glad to be done, so I sent in the form, and I didn't read over it, and when I did that, I knew I should have read over it, but I didn't. And so I sent it in, and when they sent me back the final version that was going to be the book, I noticed 3 mistakes that they had not fixed because I hadn't communicated them correctly. It was my fault. I had not communicated them correctly, and they were just teeny tiny things. There was like a word that was put together when it should have been split apart, and there was a period instead of a comma. It was like things like that, a period instead of a comma. It's little tiny things, but it made me crazy because it needed to be a certain way, and it wasn't. And so again, I remember I was walking around the house praying, and I started to get devastated. I started to get upset. I started to feel like there's no way to fix this. And then I was like right there at the kitchen counter when I remembered back when I had done the cover and I had gotten upset and everything. And the same thing had happened. The same thing had happened. And God stopped me and said, last time I let that happen to show you that you do not need to get upset. You need to just communicate again, communicate effectively, be kind, and just ask them to look at it again and fix it. And God saying, and I will take care of it. I was like, okay. And so instead of getting upset that time, I remembered and I let God tell me to just ask again, because it had been my fault, and to admit that it had been my fault that on the sheet I hadn't communicated correctly what I wanted. And when I emailed Elm Hill and told them these 3 things, they were like, okay, you put it on your sheet, we'll fix it. It was your mistake, but we understand what you mean and we'll fix it. And they fixed it. And so God made sure the cover was how it needed to be, the inside was how it needed to be, and also taught me that when he makes things happen in our lives that we do not like, and they just devastate us and make us crazy, that it's in order to prepare us for something in the future. Because if I had not had the cover drive me so crazy, wanting it and knowing it needed to be a certain way, I would not have been prepared for the inside revision cycles to make me crazy and feel like there was no way to fix it. God showed me how he prepared me, do this when this happens. And so later when this happened, I would know to do this. God does that with so many things in our lives. He prepares us ahead of time with things we don't necessarily like, things we don't necessarily notice it's him, but it is him saying, I'm getting you ready right now with this certain instance to be prepared for what's coming later on. He takes care of us so wonderfully by preparing us for everything we need. So Anelthalien is a book. The cover is like it needs to be. It's all wonderful and good. And hopefully the inside's like it needs to be too. So thank you for watching.